Hello and welcome. I am so grateful to be here with my friend Diane Lund because she is an expert in the Course in Miracles. And there's so much we have in common about how love is the answer, and it starts with loving yourself. So between compassionate communication and the Course in Miracles, there's so much we both want to share with you today. But first, I want Diane to let us know the breadth and the depth of who she is and what she offers. Diane?
Hey, well, thank you so much, Linda. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And I do believe that A Course in Miracles and compassionate communication are very much aligned. I have been a creative director in my company, Creative Wonders Communications, for since 1992. But alongside that, I've been studying A Course of Miracles since 1987, when I started to take it seriously. I actually had the book back in the early 70s. And I've been teaching study groups out of my home since about 1994. And in 2017, I became a reverend specializing in A Course in Miracles because I just believe in it so much.
Tell us a little bit more about what you offer, what some of your courses are about, because I know you have some courses that.
Yeah, I do. I have some courses, and the courses are based first off on this book that I published last year in June. It's called Turn Your World Upside Down to Get Your Life Right Side Up, Reverse Thinking, based on A Course in Miracles. This is book one, and book one is divided into three sections: life's big questions, the ones my mom couldn't answer. Relationships, every relationship is a lesson in love, and work and money. And so those are three big areas in people's lives. And what I do in the book is I sort of say every chapter starts with a couplet, and it says, here's Western thinking and here's reverse thinking. Then it tells a story from my life about why I might say the reverse thinking. So for example, one of the chapters is death real? Western thinking is we all die. Reverse thinking is we're all eternal. And then I tell the story of my near-death experience and why I might actually say that, and then give some references about where you can find that topic in A Course in Miracles. So each of those three sections is a course. And right now I am running my relationship course currently.
Great. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. I read The Course in Miracles many years ago too. I don't know how far back it was. And I resonated with everything that they said in terms of love being the answer and how to communicate that way, choosing love instead of fear. So in my vernacular of compassionate communication, which is IFS based, internal family systems, it's that we have a healthy self, and when we're in self, we're calm, clear, and compassionate, but we're not always in self. We exile certain parts of ourselves, we manage in certain ways, and we get extreme in certain ways. And that the way to really compassionately communicate is to connect to your best self, let go of your limiting beliefs, unburden pain from the past, and relate from your heart.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Your book, especially with turning things upside down, and I think the upside down piece, I always say that I like to answer the call, whatever that call is, but I want to know who's calling, my ego or my soul.
Exactly.
And our egos, our managers, our limiting beliefs create a life that isn't really real when you get to the understanding of A Course in Miracles. So tell us a little bit what Course in Miracles is about. How would you describe it?
A Course in Miracles is really, it's a study group sort of thing. It's a personal study. Like you can just get A Course in Miracles and study it on your own. I found the language very difficult, so I always wanted a study group so I could communicate about it. But it is really trying to teach you, just exactly like you said, Linda, that it says there's sort of two minds. You're of two minds: the ego mind, and then the Holy Spirit, or the spirit mind, or the universal mind, whatever you want to call it. One is aligned with fearful thinking, the other is aligned with loving thoughts. And so a miracle, as it's defined by A Course in Miracles, is a change in perception. So it's taking fearful thoughts and changing the perception to loving thinking. And when you change that perception, your vibration lifts and you move into your essential self, which is who you were born to be. You are a great creator in this world, but you didn't create yourself, and you were love extended, is like I like to think of it. God or spirit or source or whatever, extended love. And that love has certain qualities in it: creativity, timelessness, joy. And when you center or align with that self, I think then you experience what you told me, sort of the 8 C's of compassionate communication.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, because in IFS, Dick Schwartz talks about when we're in self, and what I consider being in self is what you're talking about, being aligned with that universal spirit, energy, God, whatever inside of us and connects us. That's being in self. And those 8 C's, if I can remember: calm, clear, compassionate, curious, connected, courageous, confident. There's probably one more that I always forget, but there's 8 C's, and then I add grateful. So curious, one of them, curious, when we're not being judgmental, but we come with a beginner's mind, when we're open to understanding someone instead of judging them. That's more
Absolutely.
self. And
Yeah.
in IFS, excuse me, the parts in IFS are the ones that hold the limiting beliefs. You know,
Right.
those are the parts that make up our ego, from our family of origin, from our burdens that we've had. And once we recognize there is another way to think about things, and you turn it upside down. So talk a little bit more about turning things upside down. What's that mean?
Well, the course talks about really, you're not actually, quote, learning something, you're actually undoing something. So we all come with knowledge, knowledge that comes from the light and the love of the source, but we cover it over with a whole bunch of things that we learn. And we learn how to be frightened. We learn how to shut down the curiosity, because we're told, don't do that, stop talking, you know, whatever was going on in your family of origin. And so we create these limits. We make ourselves smaller and smaller and smaller. And so we think from judgment, we think from criticism, we think from blame, worry, fear, all these types of things that are rooted in fear. So the course is about undoing that thinking. So it's very, very similar to compassionate communications, because as you said, with those 4 tenets of compassionate communication, we're trying to look in, and how we undo the thinking is we realize it isn't real. The same person, say 8 people can go to a movie. We can all watch the same movie, and we can all come out and tell a different story about what we thought about the movie. So which of those 8 stories is real? You know, it's just our perception of the story. And so the course wants you to go with the most loving thought to you and to the people who are in front of you. So it asks you to look past behavior and look to what you would call in the compassionate communication model self, the real self, the true self, the self that was born and extended out of love, is joy and has knowledge. So I would say the ego has learning, and it has achieving, and it has striving, and it wants to get. You know, it's a getting system, where the spirit is a sharing, extending, and loving system.
I love that. I love that. And just it's kind of it's a long book. I know the Course in Miracles is a long book. So having you as a guide and a coach is very helpful. Yes, it's very long, I remember.
Very long, and that's why it frightened me for a very long time, because it looked like the Bible, it looked like Christianity. And I had not grown up with Christianity, but I had tried in my teenage years to go to a church. And my pastor had said to me, Diane, you have way too many questions. And what we just say to people is, you just have to have faith. And I said, well, that doesn't work for me. I need to actually know the answers. And so he said, well, then you better go on a spiritual quest, which is what I've been on for most of my life. I wouldn't say I just picked up the Course in Miracles and thought, oh yeah, here's the answer. No, no, no. That took decades before because a lot of the material in here I wanted to resist, because the ego wants to be right and it will fight to be right.
Yes.
So asking people to let go and turn the control over, not to the ego and what it wants to get, but to let the universe flow through, align with it so that you can align with the power that will actually bring you the things you want. So it's not about controlling, it's about letting go, surrendering, and allowing the force that you were created with to be able to connect with you so that you can be a more powerful creator.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you mentioned changing your perspective, and it reminded me of Wayne Dyer's quote, when you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. And I always like to make that self in parts. When you're looking from your higher self, when you can come from this calm, compassionate, curious, witnessing awareness that's divinely infused with love, with wisdom, with peace. When you're looking at something that's happening to you from that perspective, it's a lot different than when you look at it from reactive parts and your ego and your judgment, like you said, and your blame.
Yeah.
So how do you suggest people get to that energy more? What do you suggest that they do?
Well, I think, Esther Hicks talks about an emotional vibrational scale. And, your emotions are your guidance system, basically. And you can use your emotions to sort of let you know where you're at. When you are aligned with the higher power, you will feel the love and the joy and the peace. If you're not feeling that, that's just great. Your guidance system is telling you, hey, I'm feeling down here at, I don't know if you can see this, pessimism or whatever. To move up, I always say that, well, one, you could read the course because the vibration of the course is going to lift you up right away. But you can just do things like be grateful. Be grateful is going to move you up right away, because rather than thinking from a negative, fearful place, you're going to be, I just love today. I love the fresh air. The evergreens smell so beautiful. I can't wait to walk in the sunshine. The minute you start to be grateful, you immediately lift your vibrational up. And, I think another thing that really works is creativity. The soul, the actual essence, is a creator. It's creative. And I think we want to use our creativity. So whatever makes you happy, baking a cake, doing the garden, writing a book, having a wonderful conversation with somebody, getting out in nature and just connecting. All of these things, I think, help to raise the vibration and help you be connected more to source. The other thing is, A Course in Miracles has 365 lessons. You can do one lesson a day, and its aim is at unwinding the mind or undoing the fearful thoughts and helping you learn how to think from a loving place. So they actually have 365 lessons, and you can do them by yourself. You can do them online. There's hundreds of Course in Miracles groups across the world.
Would you show your card deck?
Oh, my card decks. I've got 8 card decks. They're in different colors. This is the tangerine. Whoops. This one's the orchid. And they come in 8 colors: rose, marigold, tangerine, jade, aqua, violet, orchid, crimson. And the cards are just random. I didn't want to make one deck just about love and another deck maybe about gratitude, because when you go to a deck and it's about love, you're going to pick a loving card and it's not going to surprise you. So each of these decks has totally different quotes. And like last night, for example, I was teaching in my study group and we were looking at this quote from A Course in Miracles. Actually, it's the first lesson of the Holy Spirit: to have, give all, to all. And at the end of the meeting, I have a pack of cards here that are just randomly selected from all 8 decks. And at the end of the meeting, I randomly select a card from the deck, and I happen to select this exact card: to have all, give all, to all. The exact quote we were talking about. The whole group went, so that's why I wanted them to be random, so that you don't know what you're picking from. And when it's another way for the universe to speak to you, to bring you wisdom. And also for you to see that when you're in alignment, miraculous things start to happen and occur.
I love that. And I love the idea that when we're present, that's when miracles happen.
Exactly.
When we're ruminating about the past or projecting the past into the future, we're not aware of what's around us.
That's right.
And the self, the soul, the spirit is nothing that we have to strive for. It's already there. So what you do is remind people, and what getting to self reminds people, is that you actually are a divine essence, a divine being, having a human experience.
Why not?
But that when we connect in that divinity, the energy shifts intrapersonally, and then the energy shifts interpersonally, and relationships can heal no matter what's going on. If even one of you learns more about this way of thinking.
Well, if you don't need two people to change the way, because
Right.
if you change the way you think and feel, it will manifest in front of you. It will appear in front of you. So if you were with a partner and you weren't loving and you were criticizing, and then you decided to forgive the behavior, not forgiving the behavior because one person is better than the other, or this is better than this or that, but realizing that we are all living in an illusion, and the real truth, the truth that doesn't shift, is your essential nature. And so loving that about the other person will feel that.
Yes.
The other person will notice that, and they will shift.
I love that you said that, because I do a lot of mediation, and people come thinking they want a divorce because they've reached the end of their rope and they can't communicate anymore, but they're just being reactive to each other.
Right.
So when even one person, even if they don't come as a couple, but when even one person comes and learns how to be more self-led, learns how to be more in touch with that divine presence that's within them, and the curiosity, the creativity, the gratitude are all part of it. When you bring that energy back to a relationship, just like you said, the relationship shifts. They're no longer coming up against your egoic judgment or blame, and you have the ability to create a whole new relationship together. So a lot of people that come to me for divorce end up creating new and better marriages because they learn how to compassionately communicate. They learn how to give empathy to each other, no matter what their partner is going to do. And then they can explore their options and discuss their issues, but from this deeper knowing, this deeper place of love and connection.
Absolutely. So I often say one way to think about it, often talk to my students and say, if you're for withholding from somebody or something, they will feel that.
Right.
But when you are for giving to that other person, giving your love, giving your understanding, giving your compassion, being curious about them, that's what shifts the relationship. So when I talk about forgiving, I don't talk about it in the traditional Western way. I talk about to not be for withholding, for being angry, for being all of those things that come from fear, but be for giving, to give to the other what it is that you have, which is your true reality, which is love. And when we give people love, other people feel it.
Right.
Their hearts open.
I love the forgiving. And I often say forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves.
Yes.
So giving ourselves permission to be human, giving ourselves permission to make a mistake, giving ourselves permission to make amends for something we haven't or haven't done. But forgiveness, I love the fact that you put it into the giving of the forgiveness. And
yeah. Because we are love, and we can extend love or we can withhold love. But withholding love hurts our own hearts.
Right.
And that's who we're hurting. We think we're hurting our partner. No, you're hurting yourself.
Yes.
It hurts. I mean, it hurts to hold your fist like this. But when you open, it's so much easier. You can keep your hands open forever. And so, it's just teaching people how to let go of all those things, like you said, let go of those past hurts, let go of the things, they're gone. They're not here in this moment. connect with who you are.
Right. And then you don't have to keep those walls up around your heart that we put up sometimes to avoid being hurt. And we can change the filters through which we're judging ourselves and other people. And you can really see clearly into a whole new vista that's much more loving and more compassionate.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so the work really is not on the outside world. You know, people are so much about change the world, right? We need to change all these different things in the world. But I actually think the work is inner work.
Yeah.
It's not outer work. You can do, you know, as somebody once said, a person I know, Gary Renard, a teacher of the Course in Miracles, he said, you can rearrange the decks on the Titanic, but if it's going down, it's going down. What you want to do is you have to go back to where where the fundamental change will happen. And the fundamental change happens in the mind. I use the example with my students that if you're at a movie, so your life is like a movie, you're watching a screen, a projection of images, and you don't like the images, you can rush up to the screen and start saying, stop doing that, stop. Like, I want you to stop right now, but the movie's playing. And it's not going to stop until you go up into the projection room, the mind, where it's being projected from, and you change the reel on the projector. It's still going to play those same images over and over and over again. And so we want to get into ourselves to do the inner work, to change the thinking, and then miraculously, what is in front of you changes. I have the most beautiful example with my mother. My mother and I had such a tough relationship. I won't go into all the details, you know, everyone has their own situation, but I grew up in an alcoholic home and it was not fun. And my mom and I had a tough relationship because I always wanted my mother to have left my father. Even though I deeply love him, it was troubled. And so my mom and I carried this troubled relationship. And a while ago, a few years ago now, I decided to only see my mother as light and love. And I started to tell her, and I actually did see her as that. Mom, I only see you as light and love. I know you're feeling bad about X, Y, or Z, but let me tell you what I'm seeing. I'm seeing light and love. And at first she would get so mad at me and so upset. Oh, you know, you don't know what's going on. You have no understanding. And then, you know, now, whenever I talk to my mother, she's nothing but loving.
That's wonderful.
Nothing but loving. I feel like I'm on a different timeline. I mean, you know, my mother has shifted right in front of my eyes because I only see her as light and love. She shows up as light and love.
It's a whole filter.
It's so amazing when you try it and it works in your own life. You're like, holy moly. I want to share this with everybody because I want their lives to be not a nightmare,
right,
but a happy dream. The Course says you can have a happy dream.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I always say that we're all channels of love and beacons of light. Yeah. And just learning how to be that and seeing it in each other really does change the dynamics. And you mentioned thinking and feeling. So in thinking, there's an event that happens in our life, A, there's a thought, B, and there's a feeling, C. Mm-hmm. If we change our thoughts, we change our feelings.
Exactly.
And you mentioned healing the feelings, which is very important. Unburdening the pain from the past is very important. And knowing when you're in alignment, and like you said, knowing when you're feeling off, you can go to that part of yourself and see the light and the love in that part of yourself so that you can unburden the pain from the past. And then you just become that channel again of love and light.
Right. And so it's just one little step at a time. You are just constantly bringing yourself back onto, you know, the Course says that the body is a communication vehicle and that we can tune in to who we truly are. If we're not tuned into the love, you know, we're receiving static, right? We're just getting static. And it's sort of like, you know, the radio. I always think of my dial on my communication vehicle being right here in my heart. And that if I'm feeling static, so if I'm feeling frustration or worry or doubt or blame, I'm hearing static. And so I'm not on the channel of love and light. And so just need to remember, well, to go to read the course or go out into nature or do something creative or write a gratitude journal. I mean, there's so many ways, right? Take compassionate communications. There's
Exactly.
so many ways to get yourself back on.
Describing exquisite self-care. That to me is what exquisite self-care is where you make your presence, your awareness, your feeling as much light and love as possible. And whatever it takes to do that is where you put the focus. A lot of times when I work with people or relationships, they're so focused on what the other person is doing or not doing and thinking that only when that person changes can they be happy or at peace, versus turning it upside down, as you say, where you become the peace, you become the change you want to see, and then you bring that back to your relationship.
That's exactly what it's right. I was just saying to someone this morning, it doesn't matter whether you stay in your relationship or leave your relationship. That actually to me is neutral. I won't judge what you do, but it won't change on the outside till you change in the inside. And that doesn't take two people. That does just take the one person. And, I've learned this in my own life through my own relationships that, the ones that didn't go well, that, somebody said to me a long time ago, it doesn't matter whether you stay or go. It matters whether or not you decide you want to change your mind about how you're seeing this. Once you do that, it won't happen anymore. And that's exactly what I found.
Yes. And I work with a lot of individuals in relationships, either individually or alone. So whether they're happy and hopeful that things will change, they're unhappy and stuck, they're separated, divorcing, or even divorced, practicing compassionate communication with their own parts and seeing the past through the lens that you're talking about, where you're no longer judging and blaming, allows for a whole new beginning. So people can either create a new and better relationship together, or if they can't decide whether to stay or go and they make the decision to go, the way they part creates a new relationship that's even more healing than the one they're leaving. So even if they get divorced, it gives them two loving homes where their children can feel safe if they have children, or it gives them a chance to relate to their ex-spouse in a way that's more forgiving and more loving. And ultimately they have more peace and harmony in their own hearts.
Yeah, it really is the Western way is to try and change something out there. If just my mother would change, if just my husband would be more giving, if my daughter would only communicate with me, whatever, that's just all out here, right?
Right.
And you can't control other people. Other people were given free will and they can decide for themselves. The only person you can change is here and in here. And that is good news because then you can take the control back and say, you know what, I want a more peaceful, loving life. And what do I need to do to create that for myself? Some of us, I often say that people don't really come to A Course in Miracles and stay unless they come on their knees, because the world has brought them there. They've tried everything and they are tired and they're like, please help me. And then that opens, right? That it opens them to, even if they don't understand, because mostly with A Course, people don't understand right away. It's a whole different way of thinking. And so I said, when I first started reading it, it was like Greek to me. It's like reading Greek, or how can this make any sense? But, people said in my study group that I went to, just stay with it. Everybody feels like that at first. And after a while, it's like being in another language. If I was in Greece, and at first I wouldn't understand at all. And then maybe I start picking out the odd word, and then I understand a sentence, and then I can speak a couple. And before you know it, I'm reading a whole paragraph or saying a whole conversation with somebody, and you've just kind of picked it up.
Right.
Kind of through osmosis in a way.
Exactly. And you mentioned being down on your knees, because with Kabbalah, with some kind of spiritual traditions, they didn't even teach it to people who weren't 40 or over in the past, because
I can see why.
it wasn't until our egos kind of ran the course of how we thought our life should be and we come to that dead end in our relationship and our job and our health or whatever is there, and we have the choice to suffer, or we have the choice to look at it from a spiritual perspective.
It's so true. And, you know, Linda, I find that it really does take to that time in life. Because you have to, the ego has to kind of give it its all, you know, like I really tried, right? And I'm still making the same mistakes, and I'm not understanding why I'm making the mistakes, and I want to feel better.
Right.
You know,
Well, tell people how they can reach you, because I know DianeLundMiracles.com, but tell us a little more.
Yeah, DianeLundMiracles.com is the website, and there's a shop there. You can buy the book. You can reach me if you want to go to the study group. The study group is free. You can sign up on meetups. You go to West Vancouver Course in Miracles study groups. So you can come to my study group. I had it last night online. I even had people from Russia come. So that's interesting because they're coming the next day. So I always think that's kind of interesting. It sort of shows you that time isn't really real. It's a made up system. And also I do free Monday miracle moments. So I send a card out, like the card I was showing to have, give all to all. And it's a different card. My graphic designer in Creative Wonders puts out, so I never know what card's coming out. And it goes out to your e-box, and you can print it and download it as sort of a little poster, inspirational poster. And then on my closed Facebook group, I actually give a short video each week, a Monday miracle moment. And I talk about that card. And the idea is just, you can just put your little toe in and start to learn about it. And don't worry if you don't understand it at first, or you're not getting it. It's just put your little toe in once in a while and just keep, and eventually something will hit you. Oh my God, that's just the quote I needed today. And that's what it's intended to do. So that's all free as well. So there's lots of different ways to get involved. And I think you put up links, right, Linda?
I will put up links, and you go to linktree.com/Diane Lund.
So you can also go to DianeLundMiracles.com and download a free worksheet on 6 steps to create more miracles in your life. That's another freebie that people can get.
Great. And they can also go to LindaKroll.com/CCC and get a compassionate communication care kit that gives you an opportunity to get to your higher self by listening to a guided meditation and just availing yourself of some of the other gifts that are in it. Because Diane and I met in a mastermind, and we are speaking the same language in different vernacular, but the same language. We are talking about more self-leadership, more compassion, more love. We're talking about put your book up again, Diane, please. What is the title again? Turning Your World Upside Down.
Yeah, to get your life right side up.
Right. So instead of believing all your thoughts, you tap into that spiritual wisdom that's already inside of you.
That's right.
So is there anything else you want to add? I'm so thrilled that you were here today. Anything else you can think of?
No, I think that's absolutely wonderful. I just see how compassionate communication and A Course in Miracles are really saying the same things. A Course in Miracles says it's really self-directed self-study if you want it, but it says that this is a universal curriculum, A Course in Miracles, and that there are thousands of paths to the truth. And so it doesn't say just follow this way. You know, you have to find the gate, the entrance that works for you and works the best. And if you listen to your inner guidance, it will point you in that direction always.
And then if you're looking for a mentor to go along with you, you can call Diane and have her help lead you the way.
Yes, I do spiritual coaching for people as a reverend. And so I use A Course in Miracles as the basis just to point people back to love. It really is like a compass. Keep pointing north and just keep coming back to love. Choose again. If you don't feel it, just keep choosing again.
And it's DianeLundMiracles.com. And all the gifts are there. And if you don't work with her personally, you can work with her in the groups. You can get her downloads. She's got many downloads there. And she's just a true resource because she embodies what she teaches. She really is light and love and a deep font of wisdom. And
Thank
I'm
you.
so honored that you were here today. And thank you so much for sharing.
Me too.
And
Thank you so
I
much.
look forward to more of the same.
All
Namaste,
right.
dear one.
Namaste. Blessings to everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Care. Bye-bye.